Hey guys, tonight we begin our little climb up the social ladder, starting from a place that makes an unpaid internship look like a corner office. We're diving into the strange and often absurd world of the medieval manor. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing that hits you isn't the cold, though that's a close second. It's the smell. A rich, earthy bouquet of damp straw, unwashed bodies, wood smoke, and something vaguely agricultural you can't quite place. You open your eyes. The world is blurry, gray, and unapologetically uncomfortable. You're lying on a straw pallet in a cramped, windowless room with a dozen other people, whose snores, coughs, and wheezes form a less than soothing symphony. Congratulations! You've officially woken up at the absolute bottom of the medieval org chart. This is your life now. Your first instinct is to check your phone. Obviously. But your hand pats down a coarse, scratchy wool tunic and finds nothing. No phone. No wallet. No keys. Just you, your questionable hygiene, and the crushing realization that you have 0 bars of signal and 0 rights. The panic is a cold knot in your stomach. You're not just without your modern comforts. You're without context, a ghost in a machine you don't understand. Your modern knowledge, your degree, your witty Twitter comebacks, they are all worthless here. You are, in the bluntest terms, a nobody. And in this era, being a nobody is a very dangerous job with no benefits package. Someone kicks your foot. Not maliciously, just functionally. It's time to get up. As you stumble out into the pre-dawn chill of the Bailey, the courtyard of the manor, the world begins to take shape. It's a fortress, a farm, and a small town all crammed into one. And you quickly learn there's a very clear pecking order. Think of it as a corporate ladder, but with more manure and a much stricter HR department. At the very top is the CEO, the lord of the manor. You might catch a glimpse of him occasionally, a flash of fine cloth and condescension as he rides out to hunt. He's more of a concept than a person to you, a distant deity who owns the ground you walk on, the air you breathe, and for all intents and purposes, you. But you don't report to the CEO. You report to the guy who reports to the guy who reports to the Lord. Your direct supervisor is probably some grizzled senior servant, but the first real rung of power you'll encounter is the Reeve. The Reeve is the manor's general manager, the ultimate middle management nightmare. He's the one who makes sure the work gets done. He counts the bushels of wheat, inspects the livestock, and knows exactly who's slacking off. He's got the permanently stressed out expression of a man trying to meet impossible quarterly targets set by an out-of-touch boss. Your entire existence is dedicated to not getting noticed by this man in a bad way. He holds the power to make your life merely miserable or absolutely unbearable. And then there's the third pillar of this strange power structure, the church, represented by the local priest. He's like the head of the ethics and compliance department, only his department has a monopoly on the afterlife. He might not control your workload, but he controls your soul, which, according to everyone around you, is a much bigger deal. He gets a cut of everything, the tithe, which is basically a mandatory 10% subscription fee for eternal salvation. So you have the corporate power of the Lord, the operational power of the Reeve, and the spiritual power of the priest. It's a holy trinity of authority, and you're at the bottom, supporting the whole thing with your backbreaking labor. This isn't just a social hierarchy, it's a meticulously designed system of control. The Lord offers protection from other lords. The church offers protection from eternal damnation, and you pay for it all. It's the original protection racket, and business is booming. Your job description is simple. Do what you're told. You fetch water. You scrub pots with sand and cold water until your knuckles are raw. You muck out stalls. You carry firewood. You are a cog, a background character, a human Roomba navigating the filth and chaos of daily life. And this, right here, is the first rule of your new playbook. Your greatest weakness is your greatest strength. You are invisible. No one of importance speaks to you unless it's to give an order. No one asks your opinion. No one even really looks at you. You are part of the scenery, as unremarkable as a wooden stool or a patch of mud on the floor. While the knights are posturing and the ladies are embroidering and the reeve is stressing, you are simply there. And because you are there, you see and hear everything. This invisibility is your superpower. As you serve flagons of ale at the high table, you're not just a piece of furniture. You're a living, breathing recording device. You hear the Lord complaining to a visiting knight about the cost of armor. You file that away. You see the reeve quietly instructing a farmer to hold back a few of the best sheep from the official count. Interesting. You notice the lady of the manor discreetly wave away the meat dish again, her face pale. You observe the simmering tension between two of the Lord's guards, a feud over a gambling debt. Every whispered complaint, every frustrated sigh, every secret conversation is a data point. You are building a mental map of the manor's true economy, not the economy of grain and livestock, but the economy of human desire, fear, and weakness. Who has influence? Who is in debt? What does the Lord's wife secretly want that she can't get? Who is the reeve afraid of? This isn't just gossip. This is market research. In a world with no newspapers, no internet, no formal channels of information, this kind of knowledge is the rarest currency of all. Power isn't just held by the guy with the biggest sword. It's held by the person who knows where everyone else's weak spots are. Your menial tasks become a series of intelligence-gathering missions. When you're cleaning the rushes from the floor of the Great Hall, you find a discarded letter. You can't read, of course, but you recognize the merchant's seal from a visitor who left yesterday. You pass it to the priest's clerk, another low-level operator, in exchange for an extra piece of bread. You're not just trading bread for paper, you're building a network. You're learning who the players are and what they value. Your invisibility allows you to move through this ecosystem unnoticed, collecting priceless data while everyone else is busy playing their designated part. You're not just a servant, you're a spy in the house of power, and your cover is perfect because it's the truth. After a few weeks of this, the initial shock has worn off, replaced by a dull, aching exhaustion and a strange sense of clarity. You've survived the initial phase. You understand the power map. You've started to gather your intel. It's an army of investments, all working for you in parallel. You spend your days at your money changer's table, managing your local operations, while your wealth is out in the world, actively multiplying itself. You are no longer just looking at a map of the world as a place of adventure. You're looking at it as a balance sheet. Each city, each port, is a potential asset. Your chest of silver is long gone, transformed into a series of contracts, each a paper seed of future wealth, scattered across the known world, waiting for the wind and tide to bring home the harvest. Your wealth is no longer a heavy, tangible thing. It's an idea, a network of promises whispered on parchment and carried by the winds across the sea. You've mastered the art of making money from money, turning your hard-earned silver into a self-replicating organism that breeds in the markets of Alexandria and the ports of the Black Sea. You've effectively gamified the global economy. Now it's time for the third and most crucial step, identifying the opportunities. And yet, as you walk through the bustling streets of your city, you notice something off. A strange, invisible barrier you can't seem to push through. You are, by any rational measure, one of the most powerful people in this city. Your clothes are finer than the mayor's. The feasts you host are the stuff of local legend. You could, on a whim, buy this entire street and the next one over. But when a knight clanks past, his armor dented and his purse visibly empty, he doesn't see an equal. He sees a merchant. He might offer you a curt, condescending nod, the kind one gives to a particularly useful tool, but there's a universe of difference in his eyes. He has a name. You start to see the manor not just as a prison, but as a system full of bugs, inefficiencies, and glaringly obvious problems that no one is fixing. You just have a ledger. You have cash, he has class. And in this world, you're quickly learning that the two are not the same thing. You start to feel it everywhere. It's in the way nobles at the market look right through you, their conversations pausing until the money changer is out of earshot. It's in the invitations you receive, plenty for guild meetings and business dinners, but none for the high society weddings or courtly tournaments where real influence is traded. You have a VIP pass to the world of commerce, but you're on the wait list for the world of power. Your money gets you the best table in the restaurant, but it can't get you into the private club where the menu is decided. This is the weird, unwritten rule of the medieval endgame. Wealth is fantastic, but it's liquid. It's like being a beta tester for a piece of software that constantly crashes. It can be lost, stolen, or squandered. In the minds of the aristocracy, your fortune is little more than a high score in a game they don't respect. True power, true security, isn't stored in a vault. It's in the soil. It's in a title passed down from father to son. It's in a name that people have been bowing to for centuries. Land is forever. A title is a divine stamp of approval. Your mountain of gold next to that just looks a bit temporary, a bit vulgar. You're in the kitchens, watching the cooks work. You've reached the final level of the game, only to discover there's a hidden boss, and the currency required to fight it isn't gold. It's legitimacy. And you realize with a sinking, deeply pragmatic feeling that your playbook is missing its final, most important chapter, the acquisition. So you change your strategy. You're no longer just scanning trade routes and commodity prices. You're scanning the nobility for weakness. You start listening to a different kind of gossip. Not about which ship is overdue, but which lord is in debt. And it doesn't take long to find a target. Let's call him Sir Gerald. They hack at vegetables with a surprising lack of precision, throwing away a good third of the carrot or turnip with the peelings. His family has held the manor of Oakhaven for 200 years. His great-great-grandfather was a hero in some long-forgotten battle. The family name carries weight. The problem is, Sir Gerald is a financial train wreck. He spent a fortune outfitting himself for the last war, came back with nothing but debt, and has a taste for expensive wine and imported silks that his land simply can't support. His castle is drafty, his fields are poorly managed, and his peasants are one bad harvest away from a full-blown crisis. He has the pedigree, but he's bleeding cash. He's land-rich and coin-poor. You are the exact opposite. This is where your journey takes its most audacious turn. These scraps are just tossed under the floor for the dogs. You arrange a meeting. You don't approach him as a supplicant. You approach him as a solution. You tour his estate, not with the awe of a commoner, but with the critical eye of an investor. You see the leaky roofs, the fallow fields, the crumbling walls. To him, these are signs of decay and shame. To you, they are opportunities for capital injection. You make an offer. Perhaps it's a marriage proposal. His daughter, with her noble bloodline, in exchange for you paying off all his debts and investing a huge sum to modernize the estate. You, with your modern brain screaming about waste reduction, see a dozen meals being thrown away. Suddenly, your merchant, money isn't so vulgar. It's a lifeline. His family's honor is preserved, and your future children will be born into the nobility. Your bloodline merges with his. Or maybe you go for a more direct route. The king is always, and I mean always looking for money. Wars are ruinously expensive, and royal courts are black holes of cash. You make a sizable, well-placed gift to the royal treasury. You don't ask for repayment. You ask for a favor. That's a low-hanging fruit. A title. There's a minor lordship available, one that fell back to the crown after its previous owner made the fatal career mistake of backing the wrong side in a civil dispute. For a significant contribution, the king is more than happy to grant you the title and the lands that come with it. It's a simple transaction. He gets the funds to crush his enemies, and you get to rebrand. You are no longer just you. You are now the lord or lady of whatever little patch of earth you've just purchased. The system, which seemed so rigid, reveals its final secret. Everything has a price, even nobility. And then one day, you stand on a stone balcony. It's not a rented room overlooking a busy port. A problem waiting for a solution. It's your balcony in your manor house. The air doesn't smell of salt and tar and commerce anymore. It smells of damp earth, of hay, of rain on stone. It smells of permanence. You look out and you don't see a balance sheet of potential profits. You see fields. Your fields. You see a small village of thatched roof cottages. Your village. The people working that land are now your tenants. Then you're tasked with fetching water from the well. Your responsibility. Your former life of high-stakes contracts and thrilling risks is over. Your new job description is property manager and small claims judge. Your morning is no longer about meeting with ship captains. It's about settling a dispute between two farmers, because one's pig keeps eating the other's cabbages. It's a comical, almost absurd downgrade in terms of global importance. You went from managing an international trade empire to mediating barnyard squabbles. But as you stand there, listening to the wind rustle through the trees that now belong to you, you feel a sense of peace that no shipload of spices ever gave you. This isn't just wealth. This is security. You walk past the cesspit, The Manor's all-in-one toilet and garbage disposal, and you notice it's located uphill from the well. This is a legacy. The coins in your chest could have been stolen. The ships could have sunk. But this land, this title, this will pass to your children. And their children. You haven't just bought a house. You've bought a future. You've bought a dynasty. You think back, just for a moment, to the beginning. To the scratchy wool tunic, the gnawing hunger, the feeling of being an insignificant cog in a machine you couldn't comprehend. Every time it rains, a delightful slurry of filth trickles down and seeps into the ground near the drinking water supply. You remember the first time you held a silver coin that was truly yours, the thrill of learning a craft, the quiet triumph of outsmarting a guild master. You remember the fear and excitement of sending your first investment out into the unknown world. Every step was a risk. Every choice was a gamble. You didn't fight with a sword or scheme in a royal court. Your weapon was knowledge. Your strategy was hustle. In a world that was supposed to be fixed, where your birth determined your destiny, you found the loopholes. You read the fine print. You completed the playbook. You suddenly have a profound moment of understanding about why Sir Reginald has been complaining of stomach cramps for a week. You started with nothing, a footnote in someone else's story, and you became the story itself. The game is won. Not with a roar of victory, but with the quiet, profound satisfaction of looking out at your own horizon, a world you didn't just inherit, but one you built from the ground up. It's a public health crisis in miniature, an epic fail of basic sanitation that a child could spot. And yet, for centuries, people have just accepted it as the way things are. That's another opportunity. One day you're in the storeroom, the larder. It's cool and dark, but you can feel the damp in the air. You look up and see it, a small, steady drip from the ceiling. Water is seeping through a cracked tile on the roof directly above, slowly turning the sacks of flour and grain below into a moldy, unusable paste. The Reeve is obsessed with the total yield from the harvest, but he's losing a tenth of it right here to a simple leak that a bit of clay and straw could plug in 20 minutes. It's not that these people are stupid. Far from it. It's that they are trapped in a mindset of tradition and specialization. The roofer fixes roofs when he's told to. The cook cooks how his mother taught him to cook. The Reeve manages the people. There is no one whose job it is to look at the whole system and spot the inefficiencies. There is no department of making things suck less. This is the vacuum you can fill. All these little problems, the wasted food, the contaminated water, the leaking roof, the drafty shutters in the lady's solar that make her miserable every winter, are not just problems. They are your entry points. They are your first chances to demonstrate value beyond your station. You can't just walk up to the Lord and suggest a new sanitation plan. You'd be flogged for your impertinence. But you, the invisible servant, the collector of secrets, are now also the collector of solvable problems. You hold a portfolio of low-risk, high-impact opportunities that could, if played correctly, become the first rungs on a ladder that leads you out of the muck and into a life you choose for yourself. The game has just begun. The world looks different now. Before, you saw a castle, a manor, a collection of buildings held together by duty and mud. Now you see a system full of bugs. A grand, inefficient machine humming with opportunities for a clever mind to exploit. This portfolio of problems you've mentally collected, the leaky roof, the bad water, the drafty halls, isn't just a list of complaints. It's your secret business plan. It's the map to a life that isn't defined by the station you were born into. But you can't start by pitching a new aqueduct to the Lord. That's a speedrun to the flogging post. You have to start smaller, much smaller. You need a proof of concept. A project so insignificant that it flies under everyone's radar, yet so useful that it becomes indispensable. Your first hustle won't be glamorous. It won't involve swords or crowns or secret messages. It will involve garbage. Specifically, it will involve the two most plentiful and most disgusting waste products of this entire estate: leftover animal fat and the ashes from yesterday's fires. It's time to start your first medieval side hustle. Welcome to the R&D department, located in a damp, forgotten corner behind the kitchens. Your first move is to become a connoisseur of trash. You watch the kitchen boys dump buckets of greasy, gelatinous tallow, the rendered fat from boiled carcasses and cooking drippings, into a waste pit. To them, it's foul-smelling refuse. To you, it's a key ingredient. You start collecting it, a little at a time, telling anyone who asks that you're using it to grease a squeaky door hinge or waterproof some old leather. Plausible deniability is your best friend. Your second ingredient is even less appealing. You scoop up buckets of cold, gray ash from the great hall's hearth and the kitchen's ovens. It's dusty, it stinks of soot, and it gets everywhere. This is your raw material. Fat and ash. It's not exactly a trip to the farmer's market, is it? Now for the science bit, which in this era is basically just kitchen alchemy. You need to extract the magic from the ash. You find an old wooden bucket, punch a few small holes in the bottom, and line it with straw and gravel to act as a crude filter. You pack the ash on top and then begin to slowly, painstakingly, pour rainwater through it. What drips out the bottom is a slippery, dangerous, and incredibly valuable liquid: lye. This is the alkali, the potash, the secret sauce. You know from whispers and old wives' tales that this stuff is potent. It can burn skin and eat through cloth. You handle it with the kind of respect one might reserve for a sleeping snake. This isn't a craft project. It's a chemistry experiment with immediate, painful consequences for failure. In a secluded spot, far from the Reeves' judgmental gaze, you set up your makeshift lab. You heat the rancid tallow in a stolen pot until it's a bubbling, liquid mess. Then, holding your breath against the truly apocalyptic smell, you begin to slowly, carefully pour in the lye. At first, nothing happens. It just looks like you're making some kind of horrifying soup. You stir and you stir, using a stick you'll definitely burn later. You have to keep the heat low and steady. It's a delicate, smelly dance. For a moment, you feel a pit in your stomach. Maybe this was a stupid idea. Maybe you've just wasted hours collecting garbage to make more garbage. But then you see it. The mixture begins to thicken. It changes texture, turning from a greasy liquid into a thick, porridge-like paste. You've done it. You've triggered the chemical reaction. You've convinced the fat and the lye to give up their old identities and become something entirely new. You pour the gloopy mass into a few small, carved-out wooden molds and leave it to cure for a few weeks. The result is a set of hard, ugly, brownish blocks that smell vaguely of fat and fire. This is soap. It won't be winning any awards for aromatherapy, but it's about to become the most sought-after piece of tech in the servants' quarters. Now that you have a product, you need a market. But you can't just set up a stall and shout, "Get your miracle grime remover here." Commerce, for someone like you, is a dangerous game. Getting caught making and selling goods on the side could be seen as theft of the Lord's resources, the fat, the ash, your time. So you don't look for a customer. You look for a strategic partner. Your target is Elspeth, one of the laundry maids. Her hands are a testament to her trade. They are perpetually red, cracked, and sometimes bleeding from scrubbing clothes all day in a harsh mixture of boiling water, coarse sand, and sometimes even straight lye water. Her pain is your market opening. You don't approach her with a sales pitch. You find her at the end of a long day, soaking her raw hands in a bucket of cool water, a grimace on her face. You quietly place one of your ugly little blocks of soap next to her. Try this, you say. It might be gentler. She looks at you, then at the block, suspicion in her eyes. It's free. There's no catch. You're not asking for a coin. You're just offering a solution to a problem she's had every single day of her working life. She takes it. The next day, you see her by the washing tubs, and she catches your eye. She gives you a small, almost imperceptible nod. Later, she finds you and shows you her hands. They are still red, but the deep, painful cracks are already starting to look better. She's your first convert. Your first true believer. Your payment isn't a coin. It's something far more valuable. The cook's been complaining about the smell of fish on his hands, she whispers. He can't get it off before kneading the bread. And just like that, you have your next lead. You approach the cook, a notoriously grumpy man, and offer him a block. He scoffs, but he takes it. The next morning, the bread doesn't have that faint, fishy aftertaste. Your payment. The cook now forgets to scrape the pot of stew when he serves you your portion. You get meat. Real, actual meat. And when you go to collect tallow, he makes sure a particularly good, clean batch is accidentally set aside for you. You've bartered your product not for money, but for better food, for access to better materials, for the quiet cooperation of your peers. You're not building a business, you're building a network. You're weaving a web of mutual benefit, with your ugly little soap blocks as the currency. This is how you grow without being noticed. You make yourself useful to the infrastructure, becoming a valuable gear in the machine rather than a rock in its shoe. Word spreads. Not like a wildfire, but like smoke, seeping under doors and through cracks in the walls. The stable master, a man whose hands are permanently stained with horse sweat and leather oil, hears about your soap. He wants some. The weaver wants to try it on a stubborn patch of lanolin, on a bolt of wool. Demand is starting to outstrip your R&D level production. It's time to scale. You can't keep brewing your smelly concoction behind the kitchens. You need a dedicated space. You find it in a small, derelict woodshed on the edge of the manor's property, forgotten by everyone. It's perfect. It has a roof, and more importantly, it has privacy. Your operation becomes more systematic. You arrange for a couple of the kitchen boys, paid in soap, to deliver the best ash and fat to your new headquarters. You build a slightly larger, more efficient leaching barrel. You're no longer just experimenting, you are in production. You develop a routine, a quiet manufacturing schedule that you follow in the twilight hours, when most of the manor is winding down. Your soap is still ugly, but you get better at making it. It's more consistent, a little less fragrant. It becomes a staple of the servant economy. A block of your soap is now worth a mended tunic, an extra ration of ale, or a blind eye turned by a guard. You are the sole supplier of a high-demand product in a closed market. And then, the moment you've been dreading and hoping for. The Reeves wife finds out. She doesn't summon you for a flogging. She summons you for a meeting. She's a practical woman, and she's noticed that the laundry is getting done faster and the maids are complaining less. She's seen the cook's improved mood. She has connected the dots. She looks at you, not with anger, but with a calculating expression. She wants a regular, weekly supply for her own household staff. A large order. And then she does something that changes the game entirely. She reaches into a small pouch at her belt and places a single, solitary silver coin on the table between you. It's tiny. It's worn smooth with age. But it's real. You look at the coin, then back at her. This isn't a favor. This isn't barter. This is a transaction. This is capital. It's the first coin you have ever earned that wasn't a handout or a wage for backbreaking labor. You created this. You took worthless, disgusting trash, applied a little secret knowledge, and transmuted it into silver. You pick up the coin. It feels heavy in your palm, far heavier than its physical weight. It's the weight of possibility. This single coin is your first step out of the muck. It's proof that your plan works. The game is well and truly on, and you just scored your first point. That single silver coin in your palm is an anchor. It's a tiny, dense point of reality in a world of mud and obligation. For the first time, you hold something that represents pure potential, a little metal disc of what if. Your soap business is good. It's turning a waste product into a side hustle. But you know its limits. You can't scale up when your primary ingredient is other people's kitchen sludge. To really change the game, you need to think bigger. You need to stop playing with the scraps from the table and start controlling the table itself. And in this world, the table is made of dirt. Land. It's everything. It's food, it's status. It's the entire operating system of your society. The problem is, you can't just go on Zillow and find a nice half-acre plot with good drainage. Every square inch of soil, from the richest loam to the rockiest scrub, belongs to someone way above your pay grade. Specifically, the lord of the manor. Everyone else just rents, in a manner of speaking. They work the land in exchange for protection and the right to not starve. It's less a rental agreement and more of a lifelong, non-negotiable subscription service where the cancellation fee is, well, you get the idea. You need a foothold. A place to implement your next big idea. And you know just where to find it. At the edge of the village's common fields, there's a strip of land everyone avoids. It's the fallow field for this year. In the local wisdom, this field is tired. It's given up its goodness to the last 2 years of wheat and rye, and now it needs a nap. To plant on it now would be an insult to the soil, a waste of precious seed. It lies there, empty and pathetic, a symbol of medieval inefficiency. To everyone else, it's a useless patch of dirt. To you, it's the deal of a lifetime. You pocket your silver coin, your entire venture capital fund, and go to see the Reeve. You don't ask to buy the land. That would be like asking to buy a piece of the sky. Instead, you propose something that sounds utterly ridiculous to him. You offer to rent the useless field. The tired one. You'll take on the back-breaking work of plowing and seeding it, fully knowing it's supposed to be resting. You'll pay him up front, with your shiny silver coin, for the privilege of farming the worst plot of land at the worst possible time. He looks at you like you're trying to sell him a bridge. His brain, conditioned by centuries of tradition, can't process the request. Why would anyone want the fallow field? It's like volunteering to be the designated driver for a party you weren't even invited to. You spin a story. You talk about a special prayer you learned, a new technique for coaxing life from tired soil. You lean into the reputation you're accidentally building, the person who makes things work. The soap, your general competence. You're becoming known as someone with a bit of luck, and people respect luck. He sees the silver coin, a tangible gain for literally zero effort or risk on his part. If you fail, you've wasted your own time and money. If you succeed, well, he can't even imagine what success would look like, but he'd get a share of it anyway. He shrugs. It's your funeral. He takes the coin, and just like that, you are officially the proud, temporary manager of a plot of dirt that everyone else considers garbage. Your neighbors watch you with a mixture of pity and amusement. There you are, with your rented ox, plowing the field that is supposed to be sleeping. They shake their heads, muttering about youthful folly. They're all preparing to sow their good fields with wheat or rye, the grains that become bread, the literal staff of life. They watch as you walk your newly plowed rows, a sack of seeds over your shoulder. And they see you are not planting grain. You're planting peas. And beans. Maybe some clover. This, to them, is the final proof that you've lost your mind. Peas. You can't make bread from peas. Beans are fine for the stew pot, but they are not a staple. They're a side dish. You're using an entire field, a massive amount of effort to grow a side dish. It's like opening a restaurant that only serves ketchup. The village gossips have a field day. You're the fool on the fallow hill, the peasant who thinks he can outsmart God's own soil. You just smile, nod, and keep working. You let them talk. Because you have a secret. A piece of basic, high school level biology that in this world is equivalent to wielding divine power. Here's the deal, the rational explanation for your madness. Think of the soil as a bank account. For centuries, these farmers have been making two withdrawals, a wheat crop, a barley crop, and then just letting the account sit for a year, hoping it magically accrues some interest. It's a terrible financial plan. What you understand is that different plants have different banking habits. Grains like wheat and rye are takers. They're like spoiled teenagers with a credit card. They withdraw nutrients, specifically nitrogen, from the soil and don't give anything back. After a couple of seasons of this, the soil's nitrogen account is overdrawn. It's broke. That's why it needs to lie fallow, to slowly, very slowly, build its balance back up. But the plants you're sowing, peas, beans, clover, all part of the legume family, are givers. They are the financial wizards of the plant world. They have a superpower. They can pull nitrogen straight out of the air, something wheat can only dream of, and deposit it directly into the soil through their roots. You're not just growing food. You are actively fertilizing the field. You're not letting the bank account rest. You're injecting it with a massive stimulus package. While your neighbors are letting their field take a nap, you're sending yours to a luxury spa and wellness retreat, from which it will emerge refreshed, revitalized, and richer than ever. And the results are, to put it mildly, spectacular. First, you harvest a ridiculous quantity of peas and beans. In a world where famine is always lurking just around the corner, having a massive surplus of protein-rich food is a game changer in itself. You have enough to feed yourself for a year, with plenty left over to sell in the market. That single silver coin has already multiplied itself many times over. Your neighbors are surprised, even impressed. They stop laughing and start scratching their heads. You got a decent crop from the tired field. They chalk it up to beginner's luck. A strange fluke. But the real magic trick is yet to come. The next spring, the crop rotation continues. The field that was fallow last year, your field, is now designated for wheat. Your neighbors plow their now fallow fields and plant their main crops on the plots that had grain last year. You do the same, sowing your wheat seeds into the soil that was so recently home to your miraculous legumes. And you wait. As the crops begin to grow, the difference is not just noticeable, it's scandalous. On their fields, the wheat grows as it always has. A respectable height, a decent-looking head of grain. On your field, the wheat explodes. The stalks are thicker, greener, and stand a full head taller than anything around them. The heads of grain are plump, heavy, and bursting with life. It's like looking at a professional athlete standing next to a weekend jogger. There is simply no comparison. When harvest time comes, it's a village event. People gather to watch you bring in your crop, their faces a mixture of awe and disbelief. For every 1 bushel of wheat they harvest from their plots, you are harvesting 3, maybe 4. The numbers are so lopsided it doesn't seem real. You have single-handedly produced more surplus grain than 3 or 4 other families combined, all from the plot of land they all dismissed as worthless just a year ago. You are no longer the fool on the hill. You're not even just the lucky one. You are something else entirely. People start to talk in hushed tones. They don't understand the science, so they reach for the only explanation they have: magic. You clearly have some sort of gift, a blessing from a saint, or maybe a pact with a more terrestrial power. Your reputation is cemented. You are the farmer who can make the dead earth sing. The reeve who once pitied you now looks at you with a new, calculating respect. Your barns are overflowing. You have food, you have a surplus to sell, and you have a secret. You look out over your small empire of dirt and grain, the tangible result of a simple, 21st century idea. You haven't just scored another point in the game, you've just rewritten the rules. Your barns are groaning. It's a nice problem to have, sure, but a problem nonetheless. You've successfully turned a patch of useless dirt into the most productive farmland in the region, and now you're sitting on a mountain of grain. It's a beautiful sight, a tangible monument to your 21st century brain. But after a week of just admiring your work, a very modern thought creeps in. What's your exit strategy? You're not a dragon hoarding gold. You're sitting on a mountain of rapidly depreciating assets. Grain can rot. It can be eaten by rats. You've solved the problem of production, but now you face the much trickier problem of logistics and sales. So you load up a cart, pulled by the finest ox your newfound wealth could buy, and you head for the nearest town. This isn't just a trip to the market. This is a reconnaissance mission. The town is a chaotic, noisy, and profoundly smelly organism. It's the engine of the local economy, and you're here to find the keys. You don't want to just sell your grain for a quick profit. That's playing checkers. You're here to play chess. As you navigate the crowded streets, you keep your mouth shut and your ears open. You're basically a medieval ethnographer, studying the local tribes. You listen to the gossip at the alehouse, the arguments between merchants in the square, the weary complaints of apprentices. You're looking for a pattern. You're looking for a pain point. Every system has a bottleneck, a place where the flow gets stuck. In the 21st century, it might be a slow server or a shipping container crisis. Here, it's far more fundamental. You quickly realize the town's economy orbits around one particular group, the Weavers' Guild. They are the local superstars, the tech giants of the 14th century. Their cloth is exported far and wide, bringing serious money into the community. They have a beautiful guild hall, they wear the best clothes, and they walk with an air of untouchable importance. They are, for all intents and purposes, the gatekeepers of wealth. And they are always complaining. You hear it everywhere. You hear the master weavers grumbling to each other about the latest shipment of wool. It's too short, it's dirty, it's inconsistent. One batch is fine, the next is a tangled, greasy mess that breaks on the loom. Their entire business, their reputation, their wealth, is built on a supply chain that is, to put it mildly, a total crapshoot. They have to buy wool from dozens of different farmers, each with their own standards or lack thereof. It's a logistical nightmare. And in that moment, listening to a portly guild master practically weeping into his ale about the state of local fleece, you see it. It's not a bottleneck. It's a gaping, cavernous hole in the market. They don't need another weaver. They don't need another apprentice. They need a reliable supplier. They need someone to solve the problem they are too busy or too proud to solve themselves. And you, with your surplus capital and your modern understanding of systems, are just the person to do it. The plan that forms in your mind is simple, elegant, and completely alien to the world you're in. You're not going to join their club. You're going to become the exclusive provider for the club's open bar. First, you convert a significant chunk of your grain profits into a new kind of asset, sheep. Lots of them. But you're not just buying any old animal. You travel around, using your keen eye, or at least your basic understanding of genetics, to select sheep known for producing long, fine wool. You're not just a farmer anymore. You're a venture capitalist, and your new startup is in premium textiles. You set up a new operation, separate from your miracle farm, but based on the same principles. You apply a systematic approach that would be common sense in the future, but looks like sorcery here. Your sheep get the best grazing land. In the winter, you supplement their diet with your high-quality surplus grain, ensuring they stay healthy and their wool grows strong. This alone puts you leagues ahead of everyone else, who just lets their sheep forage for whatever they can find. But the real innovation comes with the processing. Quality control. It's a concept that barely exists. When it's time for shearing, you don't just hire a few guys and let them have at it. You train a dedicated team. The sheep are washed before shearing. Let that sink in. A pre-shear wash. It's revolutionary. This simple step removes a huge amount of dirt and lanolin, making the wool lighter and cleaner from the get-go. Your shearers are taught to cut the fleece in one continuous piece, keeping the long fibers intact, rather than hacking it off in rough chunks. Then comes the sorting. You create grades. Grade A for the longest, finest, cleanest fibers. Grade B for the slightly shorter stuff. Grade C for everything else. You're not just selling a bag of wool, you're selling a guaranteed standardized product. Each bale of your grade A wool is identical to the last. It's predictable. It's reliable. In a world defined by chaos and inconsistency, you are offering the one thing no amount of money has been able to buy: certainty. Your new business isn't just about sheep, it's about creating a system, a repeatable, scalable process that turns a messy agricultural byproduct into a high-value industrial component. You've established a production line. While other farmers are bringing lumpy, dirty bags of random fleece to market, you are preparing to offer the Weavers Guild a product so clean, so uniform, and so perfect that it will feel like it was spun by angels. You've found their pain point, and you've engineered the perfect aspirin. The day you approach the Weavers Guild is a masterclass in understated salesmanship. You don't roll up with a cart shouting your wares. You request a private meeting with the guild master, a man named Thomas who looks like he was born stressed. You bring a single, small, immaculately clean bundle of your grade A wool. You don't make a grand speech. You just unwrap it and place it on the table between you. He looks at it. He picks it up. His eyebrows, which seem to be permanently furrowed in annoyance, rise a fraction of an inch. The wool is clean, bright, and the fibers are impossibly long and uniform. He pulls at a strand, testing its strength. It holds. He rubs it between his fingers, feeling the texture. There's a long silence. You can practically see the gears turning in his head as he calculates the time saved in cleaning, carding, and spinning. He's calculating the reduction in broken threads on the loom, the higher quality of the final cloth. "Where did you get this?" he asks, his voice low. "I produce it," you say simply. He's skeptical, of course. He asks about quantity, about consistency. You calmly explain your system, leaving out the "I'm" from the future part, and instead framing it as a unique family method. You tell him you can deliver a set amount of this exact quality every single month. On time. Every time. This is the moment of truth. The real reason your plan works. A guild is, at its core, a cartel designed to protect a brand. The Weavers Guild's brand is high-quality cloth. Anything that threatens that brand, like shoddy raw materials, is a mortal enemy. Anything that strengthens it is a godsend. By providing perfect wool, you're not just selling them a commodity, you're selling them insurance for their reputation. You make their lives easier, their product better, and their profits higher. They test your first delivery. The results are even better than they'd hoped. The weavers are ecstatic. Their work is faster, easier. The cloth they produce is finer and stronger than anything their rivals in other towns can make. Your reputation within the guild skyrockets. You're not a member, but you're the man who provides the magic ingredient. Within 6 months, you have an exclusive contract. The Weavers Guild buys all of your grade A wool at a premium price. They become your protector. When a rival merchant tries to muscle in on your sheep buying, a quiet word from the guild master makes him disappear. When the reeve gets curious about your new, untaxed enterprise, the guild's influence ensures he remains respectfully distant. You have bypassed the 7-year apprenticeship, the guild politics, the entire medieval career ladder. You've used modern business strategy to become a critical partner to the most powerful organization in town. You're not in the club, but the club can no longer function without you. You have your gateway. The wealth of the city is no longer behind a locked door. It's flowing directly into your pockets, all because you understood that sometimes the most powerful position isn't on the throne, but the one who supplies the throne's cushions. The money from the wool trade is good. It's better than good. It's the kind of money that changes the texture of your life. Your tunic is no longer scratchy. It's a soft, dyed linen. The bread on your table is white, not the coarse brown stuff that feels like chewing on sawdust. You've achieved a level of comfort that most people in this century can only dream of. And yet, as you sit in the smoky tavern, sharing a jug of wine with the very guild masters who once saw you as nothing more than a peasant with an odd talent for sheep, you feel a familiar itch. It's not the wool this time. It's boredom. You listen to them talk. These men are titans of industry. They command fleets of wagons, hundreds of weavers, and fortunes that could ransom a minor king. They are sharp, ruthless, and brilliant at what they do. And then a courier, splattered with mud from the road, hands a sealed scroll to the guild master. The table falls silent. The master, a man who could calculate the value of a wool shipment from 1,000 miles away just by its description, stares at the parchment as if it's a venomous snake. He squints. He turns it upside down. He holds it up to the candlelight. It's no use. The squiggles are meaningless to him. He can't read. He shoves it toward one of his deputies, who also gives it a defeated shrug. This is the weirdest glass ceiling you've ever seen. Here are the most powerful men in your city, rendered helpless by a page of ink. A thought, quiet and dangerous, sparks in your mind. You lean forward. Perhaps I could be of assistance. You offer, your voice calm and casual. The guild master looks at you, a mix of suspicion and desperation in his eyes. He slides the scroll across the ale-slicked table. You break the wax seal, your fingers steady. The script is messy, but it's just words. You clear your throat and begin to read. The letter is from a supplier, complaining about a delayed payment. Standard corporate whining. But as you read it aloud, you can feel the mood in the room shift. The tension drains away, replaced by a wave of relief and then something else. Lord. To them, you haven't just read a letter. You've performed a kind of magic. You've translated the unknowable. In that moment, you realize the wool was just the beginning. Supplying the throne's cushions is powerful, sure. But being the only one who can read the king's mail, that's a whole different level of influence. The most valuable commodity in this town isn't wool or wine or even gold. It's literacy. And you have a monopoly. You start small. You become the unofficial reader in residence for the Weavers' Guild. Merchants, flush with cash but functionally illiterate, start bringing you their correspondence. You read them letters from distant partners, from demanding customers, from their own agents in other cities. You become the filter through which their entire business flows. Soon, reading isn't enough. They need replies. Just write what I tell you, they say. And so you do. You draft contracts, letters of credit, and sternly worded complaints. Your modern, concise phrasing is a revelation. You cut through the flowery, ambiguous language they're used to, creating documents that are clear and brutally effective. You are their ghostwriter, their legal department, and their communications director, all rolled into one. And you charge for every single word. They don't even blink. To them, it's a small price to pay for certainty in a world built on handshakes and hopeful guesses. Your pivot from wool to words is complete. You've found a new niche, one with even higher margins and far less overhead. No more worrying about sick sheep or muddy roads. Your only asset is the knowledge in your head, and your only tool is a quill. You've become the keeper of secrets. You know which merchants are in debt, which guilds are feuding, which deals are about to close. You are the city's private server, and everyone's data is stored with you. Your work as a scribe naturally leads you to your next big innovation. One of your clients, a portly spice merchant named Thomas, asks you to review a year's worth of his business records before drafting a partnership agreement. He dumps a massive wooden chest onto your table. It's not filled with gold, but with hundreds of carved wooden sticks. Tally sticks. This, apparently, is his accounting system. Each stick represents a transaction, with notches for quantity and type. It's an unholy, chaotic mess. It's like trying to reconstruct a company's financial history by looking at a pile of discarded receipts. Is this all of it? You ask, trying to keep the horror out of your voice. He nods proudly. Every deal for the past year. Clever, eh? You look at the mountain of wood and then back at his confident face. You realize he has absolutely no idea if he's actually making money. He knows he sells spices and gets coins in return. If the coin chest is heavier at the end of the year, he figures it was a good year. He's running a major import-export business with the financial sophistication of a kid with a piggy bank. This isn't a business, it's a hobby with a large cash flow. This is your next aha moment. The weird phenomenon isn't just that they can't read words, it's that they can't read numbers either. Not in a systematic way. You take a clean sheet of parchment, something you now buy in bulk, and draw a simple line down the middle. On one side, you write money in. On the other, money out. You spend the next 3 days translating his forest of tally sticks into this revolutionary format. You list the revenue from every sale of pepper, cloves, and saffron. Then you list all the costs, the purchase price, the shipping fees, the guild taxes, the cart rentals. You even add in a line for spoilage, a concept that seems to blow his mind. When you're done, you present him with a single sheet of parchment. It's the world's first P&L statement, or at least the first one he's ever seen. He stares at it, his brow furrowed. You point to the 2 final numbers at the bottom. This is what you spent, you explain, pointing to the expenses. And this is what you earned. You slide your finger to the final number you've calculated. And this is your profit. His eyes go wide. For the first time in his life, he's not just guessing. He's seeing his business. He can see that he's making a fortune on pepper from the East, but actually losing money on French saffron because of high shipping costs and spoilage. It's a revelation. It's like you've turned on the lights in a dark room he's been stumbling around in for 20 years. He's ecstatic. But you're a professional now. You don't work for free. I can do this for you regularly. You propose, your tone smooth as butter. I can manage your books. I can tell you which products to double down on and which to drop. I will make you more money. He's already nodding, ready to shower you with coins. But you have a better idea, a truly modern proposal. Don't pay me a flat fee, you say. Pay me a percentage. 10% of any new profit I find for you. This is so far outside his way of thinking that it takes him a moment to process. You're not asking for a salary. You're proposing a partnership, a performance-based incentive. He grins and shakes your hand, sealing the deal. You've just invented management consulting, and your first client is a medieval spice tycoon who, until yesterday, used firewood as a filing system. Soon, you have a portfolio of clients. The spice merchant, a wine importer, the Weavers Guild itself. You are the outsourced brain for half the commerce in the city. You read their mail, write their contracts, and balance their books. You've created an ecosystem where you are the central, indispensable node. And it's from this unique vantage point that you stumble upon the final, most powerful secret of this age. One afternoon, you're reviewing correspondence for two different clients. For the wine importer, you read a letter from his agent in Bordeaux. The agent writes of a terrible blight that has destroyed nearly half the grape harvest. He warns that prices are about to skyrocket, and availability will be scarce for at least a year. You file this information away. An hour later, you're meeting with the owner of the city's largest tavern. He's looking over his inventory, your inventory system, and mentions he needs to place a huge order for Bordeaux wine for an upcoming festival. He's planning to buy it at the usual price, completely unaware of the disaster brewing across the sea. And there it is. The ultimate arbitrage. It's not about goods. It's not even about services. It's about the gap in time between an event happening and people knowing about it. In your world, that gap could be weeks or months. Information travels at the speed of a tired horse, and you're sitting at the finish line, reading all the mail. You have a bird's-eye view of the entire economic landscape. You know a shipment of Florentine silk is delayed, that a pirate is preying on ships near Genoa, that a feud between two lords is about to disrupt a major trade route. No one else has this synthesized perspective. Not the guild master. Not the reeve. Not even the baron in his castle. You start to monetize it. Subtly at first. You offer the tavern owner a friendly tip for a small fee. Buy up all the Spanish wine he can, because the French stuff is about to become a luxury item. He does, and a month later, when news of the blight finally reaches the city and wine prices triple, he looks at you like you're a prophet. He happily pays you a handsome bonus. You've just sold your first piece of pure intelligence. Your operation becomes more sophisticated. You create a network of contacts, couriers you pay extra for speed, sailors you bribe for news from distant ports, clerks in other cities. You're no longer just processing information that comes to you, you're actively seeking it out. You're not a scribe or an accountant anymore. You're an information broker. You sell knowledge, advance warning of a coming shortage, intel on a rival's secret deal, a forecast of a political disruption. Your product is the future, sold to people stuck in the present. The sums they pay you make your wool, and accounting businesses look like pocket change. Because what you're offering them is the most valuable thing in the world, an unfair advantage. The city has become a grand chessboard, and you, the quiet man with the ink-stained fingers, are the only player who can see 5 moves ahead. Power, you realize, isn't about having the most soldiers or the most gold. It's about knowing where the soldiers are marching and where the gold will flow next. And in this world of whispers and shadows, you are the one who hears everything. Knowing everything has a strange side effect. It makes you restless. You sit in your quiet office, the city's secrets laid bare in your ledgers and informant reports. You know which guild is about to fail, which nobleman is desperate for cash, and which foreign port has closed its harbor. You are the master of the city's data, the oracle of its commerce. But a prophet who only predicts for others eventually gets an itch. It's the itch to stop telling people where the river of gold is flowing and to start building your own dam to collect it. Your information business is booming, but it feels abstract. You're selling cheat codes to a game that others are playing. You've accumulated a respectable pile of capital, more money than you ever dreamed of when you were just a wool merchant. But now, that pile of silver coins doesn't just represent security. It represents potential. It's your startup fund. And you've just spotted the perfect investment opportunity. It's an idea so simple, it's almost insulting. An inefficiency in the market, a gap in the great, clunky machine of medieval commerce. You've found your arbitrage. Your network tells you two things simultaneously. In the coastal region to the north, a series of bumper salt harvests from the evaporation pans has flooded their local market. Salt, the stuff that keeps meat from rotting and makes bland food edible, is dirt cheap. They can't get rid of it fast enough. Meanwhile, 300 miles to the south, a string of brutal winters has decimated the cattle herds. To survive the next one, the towns there need to preserve every scrap of meat they can slaughter. Their demand for salt isn't just a preference, it's a matter of life and death. And their supply is dangerously low. The price is, to use a technical term, bonkers. Cheap salt here. Expensive salt there. The space in between is pure profit, waiting for someone with the nerve and the capital to claim it. That someone is you. This is a much bigger gamble than selling a tip to a tavern owner. You're not just predicting the future anymore. You're about to finance it. You spend a week in a frenzy of planning, what a modern CEO would call vertical integration. You don't just buy the salt. You buy it in bulk, straight from the source, using your knowledge to negotiate a price that even the locals find scandalously low. You purchase 3 sturdy wagons, not the flimsy things you see on farms, but heavy-duty cargo haulers. You hire drivers, men with tired eyes who know the roads, and you pay them well. You feel like a general planning a campaign. Every detail is scrutinized, every contingency planned for. Or so you think. The difference between theory and practice, you are about to learn, is a very muddy road. The first few days are almost pleasant. The gentle rocking of the wagon, the creak of the wood, the slow, plodding pace of the oxen. It feels adventurous. Then the road, which was never more than a pair of dirt ruts to begin with, dissolves into a soupy mess after a night of rain. One of your wagons gets stuck up to its axle in mud. It takes half a day, 6 men, 2 very annoyed oxen, and a great deal of colorful swearing to get it out. This, you realize, is the reality of logistics. There is no highway system. There is no GPS. There is just you, your cargo, and a landscape that is actively trying to defeat you. And then there are the tolls. Oh, the tolls. It seems every petty lord with a rickety bridge or a crumbling stone tower has decided to set up their own personal revenue service. A toll to cross a river. A toll to use a forest path. A toll for passing a particular rock that their grandfather once looked at. Each time, a man in a rusty helmet with a bad attitude and a sharp spear steps out to collect. It's not negotiation. It's a series of mandatory microtransactions that bleed your profits 1 coin at a time. You begin to understand that moving goods isn't just about buying low and selling high. It's about surviving the 1,000 little cuts in between. The journey is a war of attrition. Your carefully calculated budget is taking a beating. But the real oh crap moment comes a week into the journey. As you camp for the night, your drivers get spooked. They talk in hushed tones about the broken men who haunt these woods. Disbanded soldiers, desperate farmers, men with nothing to lose. Bandits. The next day, you see them, a group of shadows watching you from the tree line. They don't attack. Not yet. They're sizing you up. This is the ultimate risk you knew was coming. You're a slow-moving treasure chest in the middle of nowhere. That night, huddled by the fire, you make a decision. Your risk assessment was naive. You need insurance. The kind that carries a sword. The next morning, you leave the caravan under the watch of your most trusted driver and ride hard for the nearest town. You don't go to the market. You go to the dirtiest tavern you can find and ask for the man in charge of private security. You end up hiring a small company of mercenaries. They are terrifying. They are expensive. Their leader has a scar that splits his eyebrow in two and a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. But as they silently take up positions around your caravan, their presence is the most comforting thing in the world. You've just learned a critical lesson of business. Sometimes, the most important expense is paying for people who are better at violence than you are. After what feels like an eternity of mud, tolls, and tension, you crest a hill and see it. The southern town. Your destination. The air here feels different. Denser. You can smell the anxiety. As your wagons, now flanked by your hired muscle, roll through the gates, heads turn. A caravan of this size, laden with goods, is an event. And when people see what you're carrying, bags and barrels of pure, white salt, a ripple of excitement spreads through the market square. You've arrived not just as a merchant, but as a savior. You don't even have to find a buyer. They find you. A delegation of the town's most powerful guild masters approaches you before you've even unhitched the oxen. Their faces are grim, but their eyes are hungry. They know exactly what you have and how badly they need it. The negotiation is tense, but you have all the leverage. You know what you paid. You know what they are willing to pay. You hold your ground, a calm island in their sea of desperation. Finally, a price is agreed upon. It's a number that makes your ears ring. It's not a profit. It's a fortune. As their clerks begin counting out stacks of silver, piling them into a chest that you now own, the feeling is intoxicating. The exhaustion of the road, the fear of the bandits, the frustration of the endless tolls, it all evaporates. All that remains is the cold, hard, beautiful reality of your success. Your initial investment hasn't just provided a good return. It has multiplied in a way that fundamentally changes your standing in the world. You look at your hands. The ink stains from your days as a scribe are still there, but they are joined by new calluses from the road. You're no longer just the man who sees the chessboard. You've just successfully moved your first major piece across the board, and in doing so, you've captured the queen. You are a merchant now, in bone and in blood. And as you secure the heavy chest of silver, your mind is already moving, calculating, planning. This was one route. There are dozens more. The weight of your success is quite literally a heavy burden. That chest of silver sits in the corner of your room, a silent, glittering monument to your first big win. At first, you just look at it, a smug smile on your face. You did it. You beat the system. But after a few days, the smile fades, replaced by a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety. Every creak of the floorboards at night is a thief. Every unfamiliar face in the market is a potential rival plotting to take what's yours. The silver isn't a comfort anymore, it's an anchor. It's what modern finance gurus would call a non-performing asset. It's just sitting there, being heavy, looking shiny, and attracting all the wrong kinds of attention. This fortune, you risked everything for, is dead money. And as you lie awake, staring at the moonlight glinting off its iron bands, you realize your next great challenge isn't acquiring wealth. It's making your wealth get a job. Your first clue on how to do this arrives on a Tuesday. A merchant, sweating and frantic, comes looking for you. Not because he's heard you're newly rich, but because he's heard you're clever with numbers. He throws a small leather pouch onto your table. It's full of gold coins, but they are not the local currency. You see the distinct lily of Florentine florins and the stern face of a Venetian ducat. He explains the problem, his voice tight with frustration. He needs to pay for a wagon load of local wool, but the shepherd won't accept his fancy foreign gold. The shepherd can't use it to buy bread or ale. To him, it's just a pretty, useless metal disc. The merchant is stuck. It's like showing up to a small-town American diner and trying to pay for your pancakes with a 10,000 yen note. The money's real, it's valuable, but it's in the wrong ecosystem. He needs to exchange it. And he's willing to pay a premium for the convenience. A light bulb doesn't just go on in your head, it's more like a supernova. You look at his useless florins. You look at your chest, a very useful local silver. And you see not a problem, but a business model. You, with your scribe's attention to detail, are perfectly suited for this. You know the weights, the measures, the relative value of silver to gold. So you make the trade. You give him the local silver he needs, and you take his florins, keeping a small but significant percentage for yourself as a service fee. He leaves happy. You're left staring at the foreign gold, realizing you've just made money simply by having the right kind of money in the right place at the right time. This is the moment you stop being just a merchant and start becoming a banker. You take a sturdy table, a banco as the Italians call it, and set it up in the market square. You are now a money changer. It sounds simple, but you're providing an essential service in a world where every major city, and half the minor ones, mints its own currency. You are the medieval version of a currency exchange kiosk at an international airport. You become an expert in the subtle differences between a Genos Genovino and a French écu. You have scales to weigh coins because clipping, shaving off tiny bits of precious metal, is a common scam. This isn't lending. Oh no. The church is very, very clear on that. Charging interest or usury is a one-way ticket to eternal damnation. But this is just a service. A fee for the convenience of exchange. A commission. It's a beautiful, holy, and wonderfully profitable loophole. Your banco becomes a hub. Merchants from all over Europe know to come to you. Your reputation for fairness and accuracy grows, and so do the piles of assorted coins in your newly reinforced cellar. You're not just profiting anymore. You're becoming infrastructure. But even as your wealth grows, you know that these piles of gold and silver are still, in their own way, just sleeping. Your next evolution begins not with a frantic merchant, but with a hopeful one. He's a young sea captain, with fire in his eyes and sea salt crusting his eyebrows. He has a sturdy ship, a loyal crew, and a dream. The dream is to sail to the Levant, the exotic East, and fill his ship's hold with pepper, cloves, and silk. The kind of stuff that costs pennies there and sells for a king's ransom here. He has the skill, the ship, the courage. What he doesn't have is the cash to fund the voyage. He can't pay his crew, stock the ship with provisions, or buy the goods when he gets there. He comes to you for a loan. You immediately hold up your hands. Nope. Absolutely not. You are a good, God-fearing man, and usury is a sin. His face falls. He's heard this from everyone. But you beckon him closer, a glint in your eye. You tell him you won't give him a loan, but you will offer him a partnership. You propose a special kind of contract, a clever little instrument the Venetians have perfected. It's called a commenda. Here's the deal. It's not a loan, it's a joint venture. You will be the sleeping partner. You put up 100% of the capital. All of it. From the hardtack in the barrels to the gold for the spice merchants. Your role is to provide the money and then stay home, sleeping soundly in your bed. Hence the name. He, in turn, is the active partner. He does all the work. He sails the ship, navigates the treacherous seas, fights off pirates, negotiates in foreign tongues, and bears all the physical risk. If the voyage is a success, you two will split the profits. But not 50/50. Oh no. Since you took all the financial risk, you get the lion's share. 75% of the net profit comes to you. He gets 25%, which will still make him a very wealthy man. And here is the truly beautiful part, the part that keeps you square with God and the local bishop. If the ship sinks, if it's taken by pirates, if he dies of scurvy in some forgotten port, you lose everything. Your entire investment is gone. Poof! It's not a debt he has to repay. It's a shared risk. And because it's a risk, the return isn't interest. It's a justifiable return on investment. You draw up the contract, your old scribble skills coming in handy. The language is precise. Every clause is a work of art, a masterpiece of theological and financial jujitsu. The captain signs it with a hopeful heart. You sign it feeling like you've just discovered a new law of physics. You haven't lent money. You've put your money to work, sending it on an adventure while you stay safely at home. You've just hacked capitalism, centuries before the word even existed. The first few months after the captain's ship disappears over the horizon are agonizing. You've taken a significant chunk of your hard-earned capital and thrown it into the ocean, hoping it comes back with friends. There are no tracking numbers, no quarterly reports. There is only silence. Every storm that rolls in makes your stomach clench. Every rumor of pirates in the south makes you break out in a cold sweat. You've placed a massive bet, and the croupier is the vast, unforgiving sea. Then one day, nearly 2 years later, a lookout spots a familiar sail. The ship is back. It's sitting lower in the water, heavy with its precious cargo. The captain, now looking 10 years older but with a triumphant gleam in his eye, shows you the ledgers. The profit is astronomical. Your 75% share isn't just a good return. It's a fortune that dwarfs your first big score. The relief is intoxicating, but the lesson you learned during those long, anxious months is even more valuable. Going all in on one venture is a fool's game. It's stressful, it's binary, and it's no way to live. So you don't just reinvest. You diversify. You've just discovered the single most powerful secret of the wealthy, a principle that will echo for 1,000 years. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. With the massive profits from that first voyage, you don't fund one bigger, more expensive expedition. Instead, you create a portfolio. You become a venture capitalist for the 14th century. You draw up 5 new Cominda contracts. One ship is going to Alexandria for spices. Another is heading to the Black Sea for furs and timber. A third is a shorter, less risky trip to Bruges to trade English wool for Flemish cloth. You even fund a fourth, an overland caravan to the great markets of Champagne. The fifth is another spice run, but with a different captain and a different ship, sailing a month after the first. You are spreading your risk across different routes, different goods, different captains, and different seasons. Now, if a storm sinks one ship, it's a tragedy, but it's a manageable financial loss, not a catastrophe. If pirates take another, the profits from the other 3 will more than cover it. You've created a system. Your money is no longer a single, anxious entity. It's a fleet.